the bottom line, George?
That Baghdad has chemical and biological weapons, and currently active, no question.
Nukes in some stage or other?
Now, that's still problematic, sir. We say not yet, but with moderate confidence, we can say they will have them by 2007, 2009. But definitely this guy's got anthrax, mustard gas, sarin, VX, as much as 500 tons of CBW. But given the dual-use provisions of the UN sanctions, we can't prove intent.
Until he launches.
The military's deteriorated. Infrastructure's completely shattered. It's highly
unlikely.
unlikely.
Why is British intelligence telling us now that this guy is trying to buy up a few hundred tons of yellow cake from Niger?
We still have no backup on that.
No, we don't.
Well, we know this. That Saddam's talking to Zarqawi, who's talking to Al-Qaeda, and Atta met Saddam's intel chief in Czechoslovakia. There is no doubt that they're linked.
No doubt, Dick. No doubt at all.
No doubt, Colin.
What do you say, Rummy?
Sir, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Just because you do not have evidence that something does exist does not mean you have...
Can your intel say what these WMDs are?
Well, my people think they found something in the area around Tikrit. But we also have leads around Baghdad into the areas east, west, south, and north somewhat.
Well, let's find them, Rummy.
Indeed.
We know this guy Saddam's hiding stuff. We know the UN's one big international mosh pit. We know we got a lot of maybes and probablys and buts from Brother George here, which John Q. Public ain't gonna buy.
Sir, we can present better, but we don't have nukes. What we have is a slam dunk on the others.
Slam dunk? What you been drinking, Brother George? I think what you need to bring in some lawyers who can argue cases in front of juries to help you out, because these snapshots and Iraqi gobbledygook on tape is just another bunch of Charlie Chan bullshit.
Sir, you know, whatever we come up with, the United Nations is going to want more time and another resolution.
The old Europe.
Your father went to the UN, Mr. President, and it took him 6 months, as I remembered, but he got his resolution, and he got Congress, too.
My gosh, Colin, you're the finest military man in this room. We all know that. But don't you think the Gulf War days are long gone? Do we really need 6 months and 500,000 men to knock off a tin-pot dictator with a ragtag army?
You're right, Don. I am a military man.
And you, more than anyone in this room, learned the lessons of Vietnam. Now, I think we're all adults in this room, and we recognize that 9/11, no matter how horrific it was, and it was also an opportunity this time for us to get it right. Drain the swamp. Sweep up all the bad guys in one big move. Things related and not. Otherwise, sir, they will be back.
I thought we just did that, Don, in Afghanistan. Maybe we should keep the focus there on sweeping up Bin Laden.
Goodness gracious, if you want to call Afghanistan a war, Colin, you know there were no real targets to bomb there. It was an exercise.
In any case, if we don't act, all of us will be out of here in 2004, and that's the bottom line.
So this is all about politics, Carl? And I'm really confused as to what you're doing in this room.
Well, okay, let's stay on message here. Exactly. Look, Genius Boy's just here to listen, not talk.
You see, sir, what I'm pressing for here is why? Why are we doing this? Why Iraq? Why now?
We discussed that already, Colin.
We had America protected September 11th. That is, if people had been doing their jobs right. But we blew it. And now, instead of taking down these 10,000 Al-Qaeda lunatics in the mountains of Pakistan with special operations, we're way outside of the box on this thing. Why aren't we trusting the system? Why have we veered off to this place where we accept without debate that preemptive strike on Iraq can defeat terrorism better than police action or intel agencies that actually share information? I just don't get it, Mr. President. I don't. Because I am a soldier. And I'd be mighty sure before I put young American lives at risk. Here we are.
Okay.
Please.
Here we
Secretary
are.
Powell.
Come on.
Let me finish. Here we are, changing the whole way we do business. In response to a small but dedicated enemy hiding out in caves and jungles. We losing our perspective here.
Change of perspective.
Trade Center was bombed in '93. Had a huge attack on Oklahoma in '95. And those who did it are in jail or dead.
Big difference. Oklahoma terrorists didn't have anthrax or nukes. Colin, I swear, you're beginning to sound like Neville Chamberlain.
No, don't patronize me, Mr. Five Deferments. You saved that for your speeches to veterans groups.
right,
Neville
all
Chamberlain
right,
now.
gentlemen.
You think, really, you think with all your diplomatic bullshit that you can appease Islamic fascists who are as nuts as Hitler? You want to know what I see, Mr. President? I see a world where in about 25 years, America's reserves are gone. Done. Demand is up 30, 40%. And we have 2 oceans blocking us from the world reserves. You think we're going to have allies then? We're at 5% of the world's population. We use 25% of its energy. You think Russia and China are going to help us out when they need those resources themselves? 80% of the world's future energy reserves are right here in Eurasia, where the prize ultimately lies. Oil, gas, water. Iraq alone, 10% of the world's reserves. 60 of 80 oil fields are still undeveloped.
And probably another 100 billion gallons in their western desert. They're floating in a sea of oil.
We have bases in more than 120 countries all over the world. We include Iraq, look what happens. We are at the fertile choke point of civilization. The Tigris Euphrates, the biblical cradle. We drain the swamp, like Don says. We rebuild it. We develop its resources to the maximum.
They own it, we run it. Pipelines, sea lanes, their resources finance the reconstruction.
Nexus of power that won't be broken in our lifetime, if we stick to the plan.
So what is our real exit strategy on Iraq, Dick?
There is no exit. We stay.
Spoken like a true oilman.
You were part of the plan, Colin, back in the 90s. You backed our dominance in weaponry, space, cyber, electronics. You agreed that we would never allow another military economic rival to emerge against us again. So I don't understand. Why
Turning
not?
these weapons loose on terrorists is like trying to hit an ant in the ass with an elephant gun. We invoke preemption, preventive war, you call it, the right to use nukes whenever we see fit. And I guarantee you, Paul, we will be in a forever war everywhere, 3, 4 wars at a time. That's not New World Order. It's a world gone mad. There's got to be some global cooperation here.
Well, no one's against cooperation, Colin. You know that. As long as we're calling the shots.
Which gets us back to reality. Lest we forget, where do you see a lack of American presence? Right in the heart of it all. What's missing? Iran. The mother lode, 3rd largest oil reserve in the world. 40% of the world's oil goes right through here, the Strait of Hormuz. Control Iran, control Eurasia, control the world. Empire. Real empire. Nobody will fuck with us again.
It's big, Vice. You know, big thoughts. But you go out here and you scare people when you talk like that. Working Joe's not thinking about oil. We're talking 9/11 terrorists, WMDs. We're talking freedom and democracy. We're talking axis of evil.
Sir, you have the touch, not I.
You know, when I was coming up, it was a dangerous world. But we knew exactly who the they were. And it was us versus them, and it was clear who them was. But today, we're not so sure who the they are, but we know they're there. Now, I'm not going to negotiate with myself. I'm a gut player, always have been. And I'm just so bone tired of this Saddam. He's always misunderestimated me. And I don't want our soldiers invading that god-awful desert heat. We have got to get this war going before summer, Rummy.
You say go now, sir, and Tommy can start mobilizing normally. We could have 300,000 troops in the Gulf by early January without creating a stir.
I want you to keep a tight lid on it, Rummy.
For the record, sir, this is totally against the spirit of the UN resolution. We agreed with our allies to let the inspectors do their jobs.
As Yogi Berra said, deja vu all over again.
Colin, you know what a burn card is?
No, sir.
Someday I gotta teach you how to play some Texas Hold'em. You just keep selling our friends at the UN, but whatever they say, in the end, final decision is mine.
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna be with us on this, Colin, right?
I'm with you, sir.
Good. All right, gentlemen. It's a great meeting. Best yet.